I am Daljit Yadav. I am from St. Patrick's Higher Secondary School, Asansol, in West Bengal, India. And I'm going to take you all through the embedding justice in language. And we are basically dealing with English language. And then we'll continue with other languages. If you have anything to share with us, I'm starting with this lesson, the paper menagerie. It's a story for grade 11 in the ISC schools. So basically, we are dealing with the children within the age group of 16 to 17 years. A little synopsis of the story. It is a story about a biracial a boy named Jack. His father was an American and his mother was a Chinese woman. When Jack was a kid, his mother created origami menagerie for him. And it was the practice of the mother to breathe into the origami. And as soon as she breathed into that, the menagerie came to life. And it did activities like the living creatures, whether it was a hippo or a fish or a lion. This story illustrates the struggle that the biracial American people face in a foreign land. The story has a theme of resentment, connection, culture, identity, prejudice, and finally, acceptance. After a fight with a schoolmate who teases Jack about his Chinese heritage, it's not only that, he also mentions that my toys are costlier than what your mother cost to your father. She was found in one album where the father chose her, he had to pay, and then he got married to her. So the kids used to tease Jack. They made fun of the menagerie that he had, that it's all made out of waste because it was all the wrapping papers that the mother used to collect. And then, whenever she found time and whenever she was playing with her son, she would make the menagerie. After being teased, beaten up in school because he was protesting, Jack discards the menagerie and rejects his mother, who grows increasingly silent because she didn't know English. She couldn't converse with anyone else. The only person that she could converse with was her son, Jack, who would speak to her in Chinese. So as Jack grew up, he distanced himself from his mother until their relationship was very strained. Jack's mother, on the other hand, is not happy about what's happening. She feels as if everything is, slipping out of her hand. She's losing everything once again. Earlier, she has lost her father and her mother, and now she's losing her son. The only link between her and her husband, because he was a translator between them. So she falls ill, and finally she dies. After the mother dies, Jack discovers that she had been writing letters in the paper of his menagerie. And she has her own story that she has been struggling to tell. Her story was, how did she land up in that album of photographs? How did she become an orphan? How was she treated? She was traded. She was beaten up. She was locked in the night so that she doesn't run away. She was taken up by one family. They adopted her only to take care of her their two sons. If she made a mistake, she was beaten up. If the boys made a mistake, she was beaten up. So she narrates her sad story by writing letters in that paper. When he reads those letters, he feels sorry for disregarding his mother. So this was just a little brief about the story. Now, as we proceed with the chapter, it will take some four periods to complete, each period being of 40 minutes. In the next slide, I'll be showing you some questions that are known as the trigger questions that we use, to make the child think, explore that injustice or any social issue that has come up in that part. So the trigger questions is, what was the reason behind Jack being estranged from his mother? A little is written racial discrimination. On hearing the story, if you want, you can just write one or two reasons that could have been the reason behind him getting away from his mother. No one? The treatment that he got from his classmates made him start hating his mother. They called him a chink. The second question is, identify the social issues responsible for orphaning of Jack's mother. There was a great famine, there was the Cultural Revolution, and they were the main causes of her getting orphaned. She was left as an orphan when her parents were killed. Next question, how does the story highlight the harmful effects of prejudice and the need for acceptance and inclusivity in society? The next question is, how does the story address the importance of preserving cultural practices and passing them down to future generations? The mother was making those origami menageries. She wanted him to learn that, and that is how it passes from one generation to another. How does the theme of bullying and discrimination manifest in the story, and how does it impact Jack's life? The next question is, what are the sufferings of an immigrant? Which human rights is he or she deprived of? So these questions will make the child think, explore, and they'll also be able to give their views on whatever they've understood or comprehended from the story. Any questions so far? If you could just unmute and let me know.
No, ma'am.
Okay. The next is through a project. If you are from the ICSE schools, you'll know that we have to have the class 9 and the class 10s and the class 12s to make projects. So here, the project that is given to the child is also incorporating some of the issues, some of the social justice elements in it. So here, we can give something like identify a social issue from any act of the play, The Merchant of Venice, either act 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5. Mention which character or characters are involved in that social issue. And subparts are, you have to mention what is the issue with reference to the text, justify with quotes from the play, make sure you mention some historical references during the Elizabethan era. See if the social issue has any human right violation. If you know that Shylock was ill-treated by Antonio on the Rialto, he would be called a cur. Antonio would spit on his face. So he was not getting to live a life of dignity. His human right was being violated. So narrate in your own words about the right that has been violated in connection to the play. Is it relevant to the modern times? Give examples of the present world scenario. just to check on how they correlate. Then mention in your slide explanations with Sustainable Development Goal, that is SDGs, have been affected. What does the goal refer to as per the UN Memorandum 2015? The next question is, give your understanding and opinion about the whole issue in contemporary times. And share a report or a PPT based on that question. I'm moving on to the next example. It's a poetry. According to the council, it was for the 9s and the 10s. But this year the syllabus has changed, so it's only for the 10s. Basically, the students ages 15 and 16 are part of it. They go through this lesson. And the poem's name is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. So here, a video on Nelson Mandela was shown on 18 July, Nelson Mandela Day. And that video's link is there. So after showing that video, there was brainstorming where the children were shown the image of a free bird and asked who it could depict. So various responses were given, such as politician, men, the rich, and so on. When the image of a caged bird was shown, they said it resembled women because they are not given all rights. Then the poor, the underprivileged, and so on. The poem was explained stanza-wise, and social issues of racism, Jim Crow's law, were discussed in the class. And after that, there was a group discussion where the students were asked to share instances where they witnessed such cases of injustice. So they can relate it to their day-to-day life. Maybe they were a victim of injustice, or they have seen someone else being a victim of that injustice. A pledge was taken at the end that students will stand against any form of injustice they see. So this is how we can empower them, make them understand what's right, what's wrong. How can you raise a voice? How can you bring an end to that injustice that is taking place? So any questions so far? No. Joyce ma'am, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
So
I
over
managed
to
to
you.
enter.
Yeah. So over to you, ma'am. I'm going back to the languages.
Okay, fine, ma'am. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. And I'm Miss Joyce Pinto, co-host with Miss Daljit. And I am a social justice animator, right? And I'm working at St. Augustine's in Vasai, which is a western suburb in Mumbai. Basically, in the language part, we deal with comprehensions with children. And in the comprehension, we try to pick up incidences of injustice. And we talk about activists. We give them paragraphs or biographies of people who have been working in this field. And based on that, we have interaction. And then the children go through the passages, and based on that, they have different activities, and they come out to understand the issue and work around it. Then even for letter writings, our questions that we frame, basically we frame like, with a social issue. So if you are writing a formal letter, a letter of complaint, so what is the issue? What is the complaint? And a few suggestions, which is written after the children discuss amongst themselves. And then, so letters to editor, letter to an officer in charge. In this way, we try to incorporate social justice teachings in our writing skills, even report writing. Like our children went for beach cleaning, and then after they came back, they were asked to write a report on how they felt, what they did, and what is needed. So, like teaching them academics along with social justice goes hand in hand. Even writing captions, like when we give them an issue, we ask them to come out with short statements, effective ones, and children have been able to do that. And now when they see certain things, they come up telling us that means this is what we need to work at. So they're becoming more aware. So through languages, then we give them stories, we give them names of authors who have worked in the social field and have written books about social issues. In this way, we are introducing them to people who are working in this field. So they get a project of reading a book, reading a biography, and then come back and then share it with the others, so that peer learning also takes place, where they respect each other's ideas and suggestions and pick up the best ones, so that they can make the world around them a little better. So this is how we work around in the language section of our uh, English language. We even give them some books. We talk about films, some social issues which are raised on in the films. Then, so it's like teaching them how to critically look at certain things and then put them into the writing skills. So that is what we do with them in the language section. The next slide, Miss Daljit, please. Now, this particular lesson is from a Maharashtra State Board book, and it's written by Ruskin Bond, which deals with a 15-year-old boy who happens to be a thief, and how the story proceeds, that how he tries to fool around with people's emotions, and then how one of a common person takes this child and tries to educate him, tries to make him aware that life has to go on with education as most important aspect, and how this child's life changes from a thief to a genuine person. So with this lesson, when we teach them, personally, SDGs 1, then SDG 2, 3, and 4. So are dealt with. So poverty, then no hunger. He's doing that because he's poverty. So when you connect the dots backwards, you come to know he became a thief because of poverty, or there was no education. Okay, then right to live a healthy life. So all these 4 SDGs are incorporated while teaching the lesson. So the children are not only getting the story, but they also come to understand that these are the issues that are prevalent in our society. And in the story, if this one man could bring a change in the life of this child, I think if all the citizens come together, we can make a big and a great change. So, keeping this lesson in mind, the project that we started was that taking from the lesson, each one teach one. So, you pick up one child, maybe a mate's child who's not going to school. When he comes home, sit down, teach him something which will help him to move ahead in life. So, like the children have been doing all these things through the lesson. So, that's what we do. Try to bring in social justice, a knowledge which the children will get through what we are doing. So I think, Ma'am Daljit, that's it. And there was a last, I think, another poetry over there. The last one, the work of artifice. This is also beautiful, Ms. Daljit, if you could, yes, the last one. Like here also, March Piercy is showing a relationship between a gardener and a bonsai tree. And it shows that how patriarchy stunts the growth of women in the society. So through this also, like, gender equality and empowering women is depicted. So when we deal with the poem, we try to tell them that how different methods were used for keeping women at bay. So the bonsai is representing the woman, which shows preventing its growth, then showing that it is placed in a particular space. Then it shows that the shape of the bonsai is designed as desired by the patriarchy society. So gender equality, SDG 5, is introduced through this lesson. So through small ways in our literature and language, we try to push in uh, the awareness amongst our students. And I'm glad that most of our schools are doing this. I would like to ask you all that have any one of you tried such conversations amongst your class groups?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, so I am currently teaching Merchant of Venice in class 10.
Okay.
So as Daljit ma'am pointed out, there are issues of anti-Semitism and then discrimination just because Shylock is a Jew. So based on that context, I have we have included trigger questions for the students as well, as in like why is it that Shylock behaves in a particular way that he does. So using these questions, we can introduce the concept of social injustice to the students. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Miss. Even like, did you find any of the lessons or topics with similar concept in your curriculum?
Miss, even we have this poem that Miss just pointed out, the caged bird. So there also we
Okay.
have the issue of racial discrimination.
Yeah.
So there also like we have racial discrimination, but we can also relate it to the kind of discrimination that women faces in the Indian society. So that
Okay.
is how I relate it to my children at school.
Okay. That's great.
Thank you.
Have you ever tried something like in the languages that we have discussed with you? In the writing skills?
Miss,
Have you
for
dealt?
language, usually whenever we do practice letters, for example, like in 9 and 10, we just give them letters to practice. So there, letter to any editorial relating to social issues, as you pointed out. So
Yeah.
those are the things that we do. Even for comprehension, like as you said, stories
Yeah.
from social activists can be given,
Yes.
and based on that, questions can be given so that the students have a time to reflect and contemplate
Reflect.
on that and try to also, imitate some behaviors and traits that those social activists have. So those are the things that can be done in language classes as well.
Very nice. Anyone who has any other ideas, or if you're doing something different and would like to share with us, uh, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself or write in the chat box.
We are left with 51 seconds now. So I would like one of you to do the reflections if possible. Who will do that? Can somebody volunteer?
Suparna will be doing. Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
Veena can also do it. Chu can also
Okay.
do
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a Tamil teacher. I'm from Chennai.
Okay.
Okay. So in each lesson, after each unit, we have one topic like Nirka Adarku Taga. In that, they will give one issue, then they will ask how you will react in that situation. So
Okay.
during that discussion, the students are coming with different ideas and they are showing that they have knowledge about the issues, what is happening in the society, and how they can overcome from that situation. So I feel that that is very much apt to this conversation.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am. My name is Kameshwari.
Yeah.
Are you hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm from Andhra Pradesh. Basically, I'm a Hindi teacher, but
Okay.
I'm very much impressed with this program. And yeah, through very lessons, we used to discuss about all these social problems. We have a Kankanka Adhikari, one lesson was there. So we used to discuss about the labor problems, dignity of labor, and
Yeah.
in some places about the woman education and how
Okay.
to solve the social problems to discuss with the woman and helping them to solve their problems in taking good health and giving girls education. Whenever we used to get any lesson and time, we used to discuss with the children. And sometimes if the issue is very nice, we ask them to give